What next for Najib? There are several things that Dato Sri Najib can do. But first things first. What happens to his position as an MP? Now, because of his conviction and the nature of his sentence, Najib is automatically disqualified from being an MP. His duration of imprisonment is for more than a year. Additionally, he has to pay a fine larger than RM 2000, which are the threshold lines drawn in the Constitution. But there's a catch to this. His position as MP can be preserved if he receives a free pardon. Najib has two main options at his disposal. Let us deal with the legal option first. The first option is to file a review application. Najib can choose to ask another panel of federal court judges to review the earlier federal court's decision. Najib's counsel hinted at it but did not go into any details on that day. The federal court may review its own decision if Najib can show one of 8 grounds. First, procedural injustice. Second, that the earlier decision was tainted by bias. Third, where due process was corrupted. Fourth, where there is a jurisdictional error. Fifth, where an earlier decision had been obtained by dishonesty. 7, where there is clear infringement of the law. Next, where there is quorum failure or lack of quorum. And last, where the court imposes a sentence unknown to the law. The point that Najib is expected to push, having regard to his last speech to the federal court, is that they had denied him justice. That will be on procedural injustice or a decision by a biased panel. From the way he and his counsel have argued the case, and if we study his carefully prepared speech, brimming as it does with case references which no ordinary man can understand, it raises 2 grounds. One is denial of justice, or number 2, incompetence of counsel. We should not discuss here the merits of these arguments. That can be done after Najib's application, if at all, is filed and disposed. Now, how easy is a review application? It is terribly difficult to succeed in it. The court has always stated that there must be a finality of decisions, and a decision cannot be willy-nilly reopened. Although Rule 137 of the Rules of the Federal Court, 1995, states that the Federal Court has inherent powers to make any order to prevent injustice, the Federal Court has repeatedly ruled that it will not interfere and will only do so rarely, with caution, and under very narrow grounds. When will the court refuse a review? In 2 circumstances. One, where the application has had its appeal dismissed on merits, or where what is known as a 2-0 score, where at least 2 earlier courts had made a concurrent finding of his guilt. So, whether Najib's review application will succeed depends quite simply on the application of the law to the facts, and so it is the easiest of the 2 issues. Now, if the federal court allows the review, what results can Najib expect? He may have his federal court appeal perhaps reheard. A far cry, but it's a possibility. To hope that there will be a retrial from scratch is a legal impossibility, but let's see what happens. The second option is a royal pardon. This is a difficult but inevitable question. It is said to be a legal prerogative to be exercised solely by the monarch. That is not the way pardons work or are meant to work. But this is certainly a step that Najib will most probably take. Najib has very closely followed what Anwar Ibrahim has done, and it is more than possible he will try the same method, the same route, and the same argument. Well, how will it be done? If Najib had committed, as in this case, the offense in the federal territory, Putrajaya or Labuan, the king can issue a pardon. If the offense is committed in some other states, the respective state ruler or the governor of that state has that power. Now, this is what Article 42, Subclause 1 of the Federal Constitution states. The king has power to grant pardons, reprieves, and respites in respect of all offenses committed in the 3 areas I have just told you. And the ruler of a state has the power to do so for offenses committed in his state. Now, you will note that there is no requirement that there must be a conviction before a pardon can be granted. Strictly. Technically, it can be done even before a conviction is determined. And the power of the king under this particular article is quite wide, and it is said not to be subject to any examination by any court. Yet, under the federal constitution, the rulers and the king always act on the advice of the prime minister, and in this case, the pardons board. What might impress the pardons board? Well, Firstly, there are several procedures to comply with. Usually, the relevant considerations that will influence the board are the accused's previous conduct, the reason for the crime, and his antecedents. Now, another crucial question is the timing of the pardon. If the pardon is granted before elections, Najib will be able to contest the elections. He will try to reclaim the BN leadership, one supposes. UMNO is of course sufficiently weakened for him to mount a challenge, and he has the means to effect it. If the pardon is to be granted after the elections, then during elections, someone else will have to stand in for him. Then, if and when Najib gets his post-election pardon, assuming the king gives it to him, the nominee might resign. Then there shall have to be a re-election, exactly as what happened in Port Dickson. Najib is expected to win on the principle of Bosco. That seems to be the plan anyway. In this furious drama, Najib is but one minor player. The fate of democracy hangs in the balance. Now, when we speak of pardons, there are larger issues at play. The most important question is, will the king pardon Najib, and if so, why? You will not be wrong to think that every politician who breaches his duty of trust and loots billions and millions of ringgit and dollars might, as a first step, simply weather and endure a difficult criminal prosecution. At the end of that, all he has to do is to cast himself at the feet of the king, seeking a pardon because he has, as he might say, as a politician carried out national service. If those are the grounds on which pardon is to be granted, then the pardon will be an open charter for thieves. Now there is another serious issue. What if other cases are started against Najib before that? Well, they will be eventually. Then will the pardon extinguish all of Najib's crimes? That is another question. And so, the wheel of destiny turns, lifting others and crushing some. But you see, the hand that guides destiny is not the hand of logic or of power, but that of providence. There are no easy answers to these questions, but one thing is certain. There will be plans after plans after plans, as you will soon come to realize. Good day. Thank you very much for watching GK TV. I will see you again in another episode. Good night.